Okay, so we have the first major release from a frontier lab, and this is from Anthropic. They are releasing Claude Opus 4.6 today. Now, the tagline is Claude transform coding in 2025. In 2026, it will transform knowledge work. The pattern is very clear. Anthropic is clearly focusing on knowledge work by focusing their energies on enterprise and developers. And so far, it seems to have paid off big time. So let's have a look at this model. Beyond the model, they are also releasing new features, including a team of agents that can work in parallel, Claude in Excel, Claude in PowerPoint, and we might have the first AI CEO, or at least a team leader. It's state-of-the-art on a number of key benchmarks with their focus on knowledge work. So we're moving away from simple coding agents, and now the system can perform knowledge work that is economically viable and useful. It's also the first Opus model with 1 million context window, which makes it a lot more useful compared to the previous iterations. Now, while recording, OpenAI also introduced GPT-5.3-Codex, which is the state-of-the-art coding model and now runs 25% faster compared to GPT-5.2. I'll probably create another video covering that release, but let's talk about Opus. Now, according to Anthropic, it can work in larger code bases. It has better code review and debugging skills, that it catches its own mistakes, and it has a 1 million context window. And now it can do tasks like running financial analysis, doing research, and using and creating documents. With the recent release of Cowork within Claude Code, Anthropic seems to be working towards integrating all these capabilities into a single product. On humanity's last exam, this is now state-of-the-art, with the first model crossing 53.1 with tool usage. The second best is GPT-5.2 Pro. And this is also the first model that is crossing 1500 ELO score on GPT Evolve from OpenAI. I think out of all the benchmarks, this specific benchmark of GDP Evolve is the most significant one, because it measures the model performance on economically viable real-world tasks across 44 different occupations. These are complex tasks which test the model capabilities on real-world use cases. Here are a few examples. This is a manufacturing engineering task. The other one is order management system. And then the last one is a video producer. Now, as you would expect, it's also better compared to the previous iteration of Opus 4.5, but it's just marginally better compared to the previous GPT-5.2 Codex on Terminal Bench. But actually, OpenAI takes this to a whole new level with GPT-5.3 Codex, because they are scoring 77.3%. which is a significant jump compared to the previous iteration. So I think Opus finally is going to have some real competition from GPT-5.3. Now, another feature that they announced today is that Claude Code can now assemble agent teams to work on tasks together. So this is something I definitely want to spend a lot of time exploring, and then I'll probably create a more detailed video on this. But it's a very neat feature, because now you can have the coordination of multiple Claude Code instances working together as a team with shared tasks, inter-agent messaging, and centralized messaging. But this is different from subagents that we had in Claude Code before. So here's a quick comparison between subagents and agent team. For subagents, each one of them had its own context window, and the results are returned to the orchestrator or caller. For agent teams, these are independent instances of Claude Code. So not only they have their own context window, but they are fully independent. And I believe you can trigger subagents within the agent teams. Now, for communication, subagents report results back to the main agents only. Teams messages each other directly. In terms of coordination, for subagents, we knew that the orchestrator or main agent is responsible for coordination. In this case, there is a shared task list with self-coordination. So especially with products like OpenClaw that showed that you can have multiple agents coordinating with each other, Anthropic is also showing that is possible within Claude Code. So what are the use cases? Subagents are best for focused tasks where only the final results matter, and the agent team can do complex work requiring discussion and collaboration. So you can have multiple different agents with expertise that goes beyond a simple subagent. But you need to be careful about the cost, because subagent is going to result in lower cost because it summarizes the results and return it back to the main context. When it comes to agent teams, you're going to have higher cost because each teammate is a separate Claude instance. So I'll create a more detailed video on this. If you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, if you want to test it out, it's going to be available in Claude Code, but by default, it's disabled. So you'll have to enable it for it to work within your. Okay, let's talk about benchmarks. So we saw that it's state of the art for Opus family on Terminal Bench 2. OpenAI took that to a whole different level. On SweetBench, it's very similar to Opus 4.5. On SweetBench verified, GPT-3.5 still lags behind. Now, the more interesting benchmark out of them is RKGI2, and it's a leap ahead of the competition in that. So it seems like it has really good reasoning capabilities. Now, the biggest differentiating factor compared to the previous iteration of Opus is going to be the context window. I don't think like we're going to see a huge jump in capabilities, specifically in coding. But since this has the 1 million context window, it's going to be a significant jump for coding because it will be able to work with much larger code bases. And hopefully the compaction is not going to be as aggressive as the previous iteration. Now, I was going through the system card, and it seems like this is state of the art when it comes to long context retrieval, both for a 64K context and up to 1 million context as well. So currently, this is state of the art for long context retrieval. This is something where Google had the lead, but now it seems like all of these other companies are catching up. There are a few other benchmarks. Again, it is beating the rest of the models on those as well, but I'm interested in some more technical details. But first, let's talk about safety. According to Anthropic, Opus 4.6 showed low rate of misaligned behaviors such as deception, sycophancy, encouragement of user delusions, and cooperation with misuse. Now, overall, it's just as well aligned as its predecessor, Claude Opus 4.5, but this is the first model that shows the lowest rate of over-refusal, where the model fails to answer benign queries of any of the recent Claude model, which is a good news for the final user. Now, if you're using this through the API, you have some new capabilities. The first one is adaptive thinking. So now Claude can decide how much deeper reasoning it wants to allocate to a specific query, which is pretty great. Also, the developers are going to have the ability to set the reasoning budget, but this is a really good capability to have. We have seen this in other models like Gemini 3, which can do adaptive thinking. So this is becoming an industry standard. You now have 4 different reasoning efforts that you can set: low, medium, high, and max. So by default, it's going to be in the high reasoning effort. And it has a long context window with context compaction. Now, this might be a little controversial, but on the API, the model will automatically summarize and replace older context when the conversation approaches a configurable threshold, which will let Claude perform longer tasks without hitting limits. So I think you will be able to set that threshold. The default compaction settings in Claude Code has been hit and miss so far. Okay, now let's talk about pricing. So for this 1 million context window, they have 2 different pricing structure. If you have less than 200,000 tokens, it's going to use the pricing of Opus 4.5. But if you're using more than 200,000 tokens, then it can get expensive really quickly. And as Sam Altman pointed out, Anthropic continues to be the most expensive model provider, but people are still paying for it. And Opus supports 128,000 tokens in output, which is very useful, especially for programming tasks and also knowledge work. Now, there is also US only inference that is going to be available at a much higher process cost on the API, but you can select that if that's something you are interested in. So one thing is clear, Anthropic is really moving towards enterprise customers, and that's why there's specific focus on knowledge work. And in the process, they are building some of the best coding models. Now, they are definitely going to have a competition from GPT-5.3, which is great for us developers. So I'm going to be creating a few videos covering some of its capabilities. This was just a quick overview of the release. Do let me know how your experience with this new model is, and I'll see you in the next one.